Hey guys, so 1 week without smoking, cold turkey as they say. Couple of observations. One guy left a comment on the last video and he mentioned HALT, H-A-L-T. He said hungry, angry, lonely or tired, and his observation was that if people are trying to stop smoking and they are experiencing one of those things, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, that they will want to smoke during those times. There were some other comments from some other people sort of thinking in a different direction but a similar idea, where someone said they really want to stop smoking but they can't because there's too much difficulty in their life at the moment. And I think those two observations by those two different people, although they come from different angles on it, is I can relate to that, because I've been telling myself for years that I'll stop smoking when this next difficult patch is over. So when this difficult patch of my life is over and everything's easy again, then I'll stop smoking. And I've said that to myself hundreds of times. Because I think our lives are never perfect, you know. There's always some hassle going on. And this week there has been actually a couple of big hassles. One a business, one from Australia, and just another couple of other little things during the week that were sort of big hassles. And I must admit, during those times it was like, and I really wanted to go and get myself a cigarette. But again, it's because that's the habit. The habit is when things are difficult, or when we're feeling not good, feeling good, or for whatever reason, our habit is to have a cigarette. But the reality is that, and I think this is what we have to do, I think the habit is we have a cigarette. The habit is we think of having a cigarette. The habit is wanting a cigarette. It's a habit. So I'm finding in these videos that I'm repeating myself a lot, and in my own mind, thinking about this stuff, I'm repeating myself a lot. And I think it's important. I think what we're trying to do is undo the habit, the habitual thinking, the patterns of thinking. And we're trying to undo them, and I think the only way to undo them, you know, for me, it's been 30 years of programming my brain into all these circumstances. So after I eat, I smoke. When I hop in the car to drive somewhere, I smoke. When I have a problem and some stress, I smoke. When I'm on the phone, when I'm taking a heavy phone call, I always smoke. You know, whenever one of these triggers happens, I smoke. So I've got to undo that programming. You know, that's 30 years of programming I've got to undo. And I think the only way to do it is to get a new habit happening of a new way of thinking about these things. So I think the first step is to recognize that, again, that instinct or that habit of I'm under stress, or I'm angry, or I'm having a bad time, or what was the other thing, lonely, or I'm tired, or hungry, or whatever. The first thing we have to do is overcome that habit of doing it. Because, for example, after a week of not smoking, if I have a cigarette, if I'm feeling bad and I've got some problem happening, and I go and have a cigarette, it's not going to make it any different. It's not going to make any difference. I'm not going to suddenly go, oh, that's better. Oh, now I'm relaxed. Now I'm not stressed, and now that problem's gone away. It won't happen. It won't happen. So, even though that's still my habit, it's still my habit to have that thought come into my mind. I have to get that thought out of my mind as soon as it comes in. So, you know, had a crappy day there, or crappy night there a couple of nights ago, and a bit of stress and a bit of hassle, and it was like, have a cigarette, and I had to get that out of my mind straight away. Well, like, no, that's not going to help. That's not going to help. Do something else. So, you know, if we're hungry, we need to eat, and this guy makes a good point. That is something that smokers do. Quite often, we mistake some other thing for a desire to smoke. So, for example, people who are still smoking, who haven't stopped, quite often, you know, I used to forget to eat sometimes, you know, because what would happen is I'd get a hunger pain and I'd mistake it for a cigarette craving, and I'd have a cigarette and then I'd forget to eat, and then later on I'd think, well, I didn't have lunch today, I forgot, you know. And I think that's one thing that if we stop smoking, that's one thing we have to get more in tune with our bodies. So if our body's hungry, well, we'll get something to eat. You know, preferably not chocolate almonds, preferably something a little bit more healthy, you know. I did have one night this week, I ate a lot of rice. I was with my friend who was smoking, and I ate a lot of rice because I figured if I could just keep eating, that was sort of distracting me from what he was doing with his cigarettes, you know. I'll eat rice instead. So if we're hungry, eat food. If we're thirsty, drink something. One night this week, I actually went to bed earlier than I normally do. Normally go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. One night this week, I went to bed at midnight, which is pretty early for me. Because I was a bit tired, and just because I was in an uncomfortable sort of feeling going on. So, okay, I'll go to bed. 12 o'clock at night, I went to bed earlier than 3 hours earlier than I normally do, but it was a good strategy. Woke up the next morning feeling good. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure with this stuff we really need to be really aware. And I mean, I've found this with a lot of stuff in life. Really aware of our thinking, being able to look at our own thinking, and this seems to be the case with a lot of different things in life, I think. To improve ourselves, we really need to be aware of what we're thinking and why, you know, and analyse what we're thinking and what we're desiring and what we're craving and why, and being honest with ourselves about the consequences of those desires, those things that we might be wanting to do. And I think that this is a very good example of that. I think, you know, when you stop smoking, you just have to be very disciplined first of all, but it's not just discipline, it's logic. It's sort of like be able to reprogram our mind with logic. You know, really look at it. I mean, if this was a constant struggle 24 hours a day, day after day, I think it would be, you know, virtually impossible, but it's not. It's not a 24-hour a day struggle. It's I won't even think about having a cigarette for an hour or two, and then it just comes into my mind. Sometime there's a trigger, usually some trigger, that brings it into my mind, and then I have to hit it with that reprogrammed logic. No, wait a moment, that's not going to make me feel any better, and push it aside. And it is becoming less frequent. It's only been a week, but it's becoming less frequent. You know, like I said recently, that, you know, driving in the car I used to smoke cigarettes constantly in the car, except when I was making a video. But, you know, at first that was difficult. Now that's not a problem. After eating, that's sort of faded a bit already too. It's only been a week. That's sort of faded already too. It's becoming less frequent, and then when it's happening, it's for a shorter period of time. So we just need to get a better program running in our head about tobacco. You know, the reality of it. It's not going to give me a buzz. It's not going to make me feel more relaxed. It's not going to help me concentrate any better. That's all nonsense. It's not true. We know that's not true. You know, the people that are sitting beside us that are non-smokers don't sit there thinking, well, if only I could smoke cigarettes, I could think more clearly. You know, non-smokers don't think, well, if only I could smoke cigarettes, I could relax more. Non-smokers don't think that. Non-smokers are never jealous of smokers. You know, non-smokers are never jealous of smokers and think, wow, you know, I really admire that guy because he's so relaxed and concentrates so well because he's a smoker. Doesn't happen, does it? The only people who believe that lie are smokers. You know, you never hear a non-smoker say it because it's bullshit. It's not true. It's not true. It's only smokers who say that lie. You know, oh, I need a cigarette, it helps me relax, you know, it helps me concentrate. It's just a lie that we use, that we smokers, it's a lie that we use to justify our smoking. So, you know, we need to get real with ourselves and accept that that's just not true. You know, if that was really true, all the great thinkers of the world would be smokers. You know, all the great thinkers of the world would go, geez, I need to get to the next level of intelligence and the next level of concentration. I'll start smoking. You know, all the gurus, you know, I want to get to the next level of relaxation, so I shall start smoking. You know, it doesn't happen, does it? You know, most of the enlightened people of the world don't smoke. And those enlightened people that do smoke, obviously that's their weakness, isn't it? So